Welcome to KimAppa, Jarrod and Robbie here for another week of whatever this is that we do and the talk. I can't touch him this week. I'm sorry. I know there's a lot of
Thank
people
God
have
for
been,
that.
messaging saying they want more touching of Robbie. Lots of fan mail for Jarrod touching Robbie. Uh, let's start with Rohit Sharma because this is quite a big news, Robbie. Were you surprised that Rohit Sharma is no longer ODI captain, or was that something you were kind of thinking was a potential?
No, I didn't think of it as potential, but I can understand the foresight that exists in that decision. And I think there was obviously a conversation that was had. I think it seems like there's a conversation that was had. And I think that given that if that conversation is had, communication was there, then I think it's fine. And I think Ajit Agarkar and Gautam Gambhir or whoever made that decision, the selectors will probably had that conversation with him about, okay, what does the future look like? He's gotten fit, and he's going to be, in all honesty, he's going to be 40 when that World Cup
Mm.
comes around, right? So you got to keep that in consideration as well. And for all intents and purposes, I think it's done with doing it, taking a decision when the stakes are low rather than when the stakes are high. You don't want another situation like what happened in Australia to happen to Rohit Sharma. He's too good of a player for something like that to happen to him again. So maybe to avoid all of those stuff, maybe I
Mm.
don't know. This is just conjecture, but you don't want a uncomfortable situation like that. And I think if he keeps himself fit, then there's no question that Rohit and Virat will be a part of that side.
Yeah, the whole thing's fascinating for a bunch of different reasons. You're right; it's a low stakes time, so you make the change now. Also, if you are thinking strategically, it probably makes more sense to make the change at the moment because what you don't want is for him to lose form in about 12 to 14 months, right?
Yeah,
And then you're like, now what do we do? Do we make the change now? Do we hang on?
yeah,
So they've given themselves some options.
yeah,
But there's many different facets to this as well. I think it's also a shot to Virat and to Rohit to say, look, we know you want to win this World Cup. And like everything that we know about them externally, and you will know more internally than I do, suggests that they want to finish by winning a 50 over World Cup. Right. That's
yeah,
that's
for
the thing
sure.
that they dreamed of winning when they were kids and everything else. But what the BCCI or the management at this stage at least are saying is that's fine. You're still very good players, and while you're very good players, you will obviously get picked but you have to keep making runs in order to get picked. We're not going to do what we did with the test team.
Yeah, I think so. I think they've been doing well as well in one day cricket so far. They've
Yeah,
they've played exceptionally well. So I think they will continue to do well. It's a format that I think that they've figured out. They know how they get their runs and how they perform well, and they stick to their set templates that work for them. And I think they will continue to do that. I don't see form kind of dipping in that sense, but um, it's just about reflexes and how does that work and how those things work, because right now they're not playing a lot of cricket as well, right? The only cricket they will find themselves playing is perhaps the IPL and one day cricket, and perhaps maybe some domestic one day matches if they do come by. I think that's the only kind of match kind of opportunities that they actually do have, competitive opportunities that they do have. Outside of that, they don't have too much. So they will have to keep working on their game, and it's going to be it can be a little weird, to be very honest, because when you're not playing one format and you're playing the other, then there is a ebb in the flow of rhythm, right? And so that's something that they will need to work out. But I think they'll be fine. I think for the
yeah,
most part they'll be fine, both of
yeah.
them.
I think that's really interesting because that's that next step, and it's harder for the Indian players than it is for the international players because in if you play in the IPL, you can probably pick two other leagues throughout the year. Make sure that you're flying for three leagues, and then you're going to play a World Cup or a something every now and again, right? There's so many World Cups. So you can have four major tournaments that you play every year if you wanted to. And if your body's not ready for four, you can bring it down to three. And so you're playing, intense for maybe a month or 2 months. Then you have some recovery time. Then you amp back up to the next tournament. It's a bit different for the way that it's going to work for people like Virat and Rohit, right? Like they don't have that system where they can just pop off to the 100, right? And play for a little
Yeah.
while. So how the older players get managed, I think, is fascinating in this new world.
Yeah, it's going to be hard, isn't it? As in, how do you manage their more than fitness, I think their form and
Yeah,
just their
form.
rhythm.
Yeah.
It's rhythm, right? How do you manage rhythm? Because you want them to have that match time under their belt every season. Now it depends on Rohit and Virat how much they're willing to do that as well. The motivation to even do that at this age, at 38 and 37 respectively, 37, 36 perhaps respectively. How do they navigate through that? That's going to be perhaps their biggest hurdle over the next couple of years. Will BCCI grant them permission to go and play other leagues outside? Highly unlikely, but it could happen. If it does happen, that's great for cricketers, and that would be awesome for cricketers. Um, Otherwise, I think they'll have to just bide their time and just kind of do a lot of math simulation. Have you done math
Yeah.
simulation?
I don't think cricketers do enough match simulation already. Do you? How do
I
you
love math simulation.
can you do a match simulation for like if does the BCCI have to come in and help with that? Like, what's the structure of how you can get the people around you, or do you just go to your local area and you're Rohit and Virat, and there's enough professional cricketers?
See, in
to
India, it's
come in?
very easy.
Yeah.
Right? There's so many cricketers playing. So especially in a place like Mumbai, a place like Bangalore, Delhi, Calcutta, Chennai, a lot of these places are quite easy to round up, say 12, 15 guys, most of them bowlers, and to go out there and just practice for a few hours where you kind of hire an entire ground for
Yeah.
maybe 4 or 5 hours, and then you kind of just spend time batting and just kind of challenging yourself, playing through different periods of a game. How would you bat in the first 10 overs? Then how would you bat in the next 20? And then how would you finish a game once you're set? And then you can actually do it all together and say, okay, I'm batting 50 overs today. If I get out, I pack my bags and leave. So there's actually something at stake. You actually pay all your players. You pay the rent for the ground as well. So, so then you suddenly have take put a price on your wicket, and then you kind of go about practice that way, and it's a lot of fun. I've done that a bunch of times where we go into practice and we say, okay, if we get out once today, we're done, right? And we go back home.
So I would do it differently. I
How
think
would you
what
do
I
it?
would do is I would work out what the average time or the average innings is, right? So I'm like, okay, so this is obviously, let's take my failures out of it, right? What's my average sort of innings on a normal day, and what's my average long innings? And I want to play a game where I play 25 balls, let's say. That's my normal. And then when I get set, my average balls might be 52, right? Or 45 or whatever that may be. Be like, so in the morning, I want to play the 20 odd ball game. And in the afternoon, and so if I go out, that's fine. That isn't, but in my mind, I just have to go, oh, that was dropped, or he bowled a no ball, and to be able to go through that. Because really, I think what players need to replicate is the actual time that they are out there and the intensity that they are out there for. So if you go out, I think it's slightly different, but you can do both of those, right? If you were to you book it for like 3 or 4 days and you do a morning session, afternoon session, so you do 8 games, and you can have one game in the morning where if you go out, you go out, and one game in the afternoon where you're literally just trying to hit your target and just be like, I need to maximize this. This is how long I'm going to be in, right? So as you said before, that template of when I get to this amount of balls, I want to be doing this. And when I get to this amount of balls, I want to be able to do that. I think you could do that. But I do think that cricket is trained incorrectly. But what you're talking about there is what basketballs do, right? You see it quite a lot in basketball is they just have these runs where like an NBA player will book out a gym and just call up a bunch of people who are like fringe players, maybe a couple of friends of his he wants to do, and he'll be like, this is what I want to run. This is why I want to do this run. So I need a couple of guys who are 7'2" who jump through the floor because I want to practice against 7'2" guys trying to block my shots in a game situation.
Yeah, so that's also done in cricket. So, for example, you want to play a tall fast bowler who brings the ball back in, or you want to play left arm fast bowlers, and so you do a session where you just play left arm fast bowlers.
No. You do that in the nets, right? At the moment.
No,
Yeah.
so you can actually do this in a match
Yeah,
simulation.
that's what I'm
as well.
saying. But that's what you want to be able to do is combine that. Yeah, no, I'm 100%. I think it's really, really fascinating. So I remember when AB de Villiers I think it was his last season in the IPL, and I said, if you look at the sports science now and you look at what Tom Brady and all these 45-year-old athletes are doing, right? And we know that cricket has a history also of athletes playing on longer than other sports. Misbah was about 55,
Close
right?
to
By
50.
the end. Yeah. Brad Hodge and Hogg were both 62. So we already have the history of that. And so I came up with sort of like a template of how you could do that going ahead. And a lot of it involved things like match simulations and everything else. And also not picking tournaments based on how much money they would pay you, which is how cricketers normally do it, which is, it makes sense. But towards the end of your career, really what you want to do is make sure that you don't go more than 3 months without playing in a series. But you also want your form and your energy to be at the top for when you hit the IPL. Right.
Yeah.
And in this case, we're talking about something slightly different. We're talking about trying to make sure you're in the right position for a World Cup and everything else. But I think it's a fascinating one of how we do all those sorts of things, because at the moment, these players they are coached by the BCCI and by their individual franchises and everything else. But they are so much more than just Indian players and, you know, Mumbai and RCB players, right? It's about them getting ready for every individual challenge that they want to get ready for from here, and coming up with a plan for that.
Yeah, and it's for guys like Rohit and Virat, and I think even for example, even for guys like me, it wasn't that hard to kind of round up, say 10, 15 players and do match simulations. Now it's about the intent to do match simulations. Say, okay, why am I doing this, and what's the purpose to do this? So for example, when I was playing for preparation for red ball cricket, I'd always kind of pick October. And go to Mumbai in October, because October is when the monsoon ends, and then it starts getting a little warm and gets really muggy in Mumbai. When I say muggy, it gets proper muggy. Like the humidity feels like it's 120%. It feels like that, right? And then so I know that if I can use that time in Mumbai for preparations, then one is I'll physically get my batting fitness up. So my match simulations also include running between the wickets and playing 2 or 3 bowlers at a time, so that there's a constant kind of pressure on me. So it's like I'm playing a ball every 20 seconds, every 30 seconds I'm playing a ball. And we would actually do practice sessions with say on uncovered wickets at 7 o'clock, at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. So it'll be like nice and dewy. So like seam around a lot. So you got to be really disciplined to stay not out. And we like the whole exercise would be for 1.5 hours. You have 2 new balls coming at you, and your job is to just survive for 1.5 hours. You don't have to score runs. You just have to survive. So refocus, take what you need to do to prepare as your pre-ball preparation, and then make sure you stay not out. You play the ball only within the line of the stumps, and you leave the other balls, and you play close to your body. Be ready to catch blows, whatever. And then that kind of preparation makes Ranji Trophy really, really easy. Red ball cricket really, really easy, because you're really putting yourself through the ringer there, and then you go into a match, and then you're playing a ball every like 45 seconds or so, 35 seconds. So you play, and then the bowler walks back, and suddenly feel like, oh my God, I have so much time. So like I can really just calmly go through my pre-ball preparation and then get ready for each ball, and that's great prep, man. And these guys have the luxury to be able to do that. I know that people outside of India can't do this, and especially outside of the subcontinent, it's quite hard to do this, especially in England, in Australia. I know in places like Australia, people find it difficult just to find someone to do throwdowns with.
Yeah.
Like
it's a big issue in cricket within that. Also, the other one is facilities in some places. Like if you become a freelance player or somewhere else, like, you know, and now with, you know, underage cricket, men's and girls coming through, they're using a lot of the facilities as well. So it's harder for some of the pros, the older pros, just to get what they need. Here's one for you, just because this is nothing to do with how we started this podcast, but I think this is quite interesting. There's more running in the nets now than we've ever seen before. So if you go to the nets now, you quite often see players running from one end to the other before they face the ball, right? But I think we could be honest here, Robbie. Most of those players are still jogging or just passing themselves. This is the same. I've always thought about this when it comes to penalties in football and free throws and batting in cricket. They're all the same. I didn't have a lot of problems batting when like my head was clear and like, you know, I was rested. I have lots of problems at the ball after I've run a 2 or a 3 facing, right? Because my brain is going at that point, and the ability to pull my brain back to where I needed to be. I had all that sort of stuff, and I watch people like I've seen NBA players do this, like practice free throws where they just like shoot like 500 free throws in a row, and I'm like, yeah, that's great, but in a game you will have just sprinted from one end to the other. You've just been pushed, you've just fallen over or whatever, then you have to shoot a free throw. And it's the same in cricket. We see so many people in the nets, like literally facing a ball. And it's like, but that's not what happens in a game. You're exhausted because you've just sprinted up and back, right? You know, there's something else going on. So I do think I've got, one day we'll do a whole podcast on my war on the nets. But I really think the cricket nets are so poor, the way that we set them up, not the out of season nets, because I think they're fine, but in season nets, when you need people to actually understand what they're doing. It's like, what I really want is, I want to know if you can face a bouncer from a net bowler right after you've run a 3 and you're exhausted.
Well, you don't want to do that in season, right? Because in season you're preparing a lot more for the competition. So off season you're preparing more for your mental acumen, the combination of your mental and physical acumen, right? So how, like, you can try those things out in the off season, but I'd say in the during the season, what you want to do is make sure that you're just primed, to be very honest. So you got the flow going. So I see a lot of players, and I agree with you, a lot of players, you know, a lot of basketball players do that. They just go and stand at the free throw line and throw 500 balls in, and that's more for the muscle memory of how it feels leaving. Yeah, it's repetition and how it feels going out of the hand, right? It's actually that. It's not the pressure. So they know how to deal with the pressure because they've been there day in and day out. We know how to center our breath again after each double that we've run, or triple that we've run. So we know how to center our breath. We know how to slow the game down enough to be able to catch our breath, to center ourselves, to play each ball. And that also comes with experience. There are a lot of times you feel like you're going mentally, but you know that you still have to play the ball to its merit. You still have to play the ball according to the situation of the game.
I get you, but what I'm saying is, if you are training in a position, I don't think nets set you up for the right kind of mat situation. And there's different kinds of cricket, all 3 different formats, right? But
so there are 3 types of training, right? There's off season, there's pre-season, and there's in season.
Yeah.
So what you're saying, I think works amazingly well in pre-season, and in the nets you can't really recreate a lot of the stuff because a lot of things are assumed in the nets, right?
Yeah.
Even if you ask like for me, what I used to do even while playing in season, say in the IPL or any other tournament, I would actually ask the bowlers, and you have 5 bowlers coming at you at a time, right? So you really don't have time. You literally have 5 to 8 seconds between each ball. So there's very little time to kind of recover. So even if you run, the bowlers are also trying to get into rhythm because they have to wait a certain period of time between each delivery. So you want to make the net conducive for each player that's there in the nets. So how do you do that? So that's why now they have spinners net separately and you have a fast bowlers net separately. In that sense, I think they've kind of maximized the potential of an in-season net. The preseason net is where you can have open nets. So basically you put a center wicket, you practice on the center wicket, but you put nets around it. And then that feels a lot more like a simulation where you can actually visualize a lot more things, easily. Off season is where you're in the nets, you're practicing particular skills. You're basically working on you're basically working on, say, the finer aspects and elements in your game, where you're fine tuning stuff and you're making corrections and you're making adjustments and building that into muscle memory. So off season is to build muscle memory, corrections of techniques and all of that. Pre-season is to prime yourself up, so mentally and physically do the combination of putting yourself under pressure. In season is about repeating what you've built through the off season and the pre-season, and to keep them primed to go into a game. So it's basically top up. In season is more top up.
No, I think in season is fascinating. I would go as far as saying that in season you should be doing more open practice on grounds.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's
again,
what
going
most
back to what I was
do.
saying. Yeah, they're starting to do it. Yeah, that was something
now.
When I was at St. Lucia. They just, because I would just moan about the nets every day, and I was like, "What's the point of this? Like, what do you think you're getting out of it?" Like, it's as simple as, you talked about the recentering and everything, but you and I also know that if you run a hard 2, right, off a spinner, and the next ball you need to hit a 4 or a 6. You need to know what that feels like consistently in the nets, because what happens in the nets is people just stand still and they slog, right? So all their energy is in the slogging, and they've forgotten that there's going to be different pulls and weights and everything on that. Anyway, I just think that's fascinating, because that's where we're going.
That's done in the off season and the preseason.
Yeah.
And that's predominantly done in the off season and the preseason, so that when you do it, when it does happen, or when you do try it out in the in season, then it becomes easy. You're just doing it to test out if all the work you've done through the off and the
Yeah.
preseason work really well for you in the in season. It's like just top up and saying, okay, does this work?
So what we're saying is that there's a new way of doing all this, and these guys will find other methods that you and I don't know about as well,
Yeah.
and they'll come up with them and everything. Just on a form perspective, Rohit Sharma, in 2023, he averaged 52 at a strike rate of 117. Outside of that, he's been around those numbers at times. He hasn't played that many ODIs because no one plays that many ODIs anymore. But he averaged over 40 from 8 in 2022. He averages around 40 odd in 2024 and so far this year. Every time he's been at a strike rate of quicker than a runner ball. If you get Rohit Sharma averaging over 35 at more than a runner ball, and the role he's playing at the moment, which is basically just trying to smash people's faces off at the start of the innings, and you know it's Rohit Sharma, you probably keep that around, right? Like he would have to have a pretty
100%.
substantial drop off in either average or strike rate for you to go, he's not going to be in the next World Cup.
No, I think if he remains fit, then I think he will be a part of the next World Cup. Because like I said at the start of the pod, that I think their templates for success in ODI cricket is clear for them. They know what works for them, and they've been repeating that.
Yeah.
However, Rohit Sharma is someone who's basically up the ante even in one-day cricket. And I think over the last 3 or 4 years, he's played at a much quicker nip. And I think that's been a transformation of sorts from him. Ideally, how he scored all of his runs in ODI cricket was his first 50 took about 60 to 75 balls, and then the next 50 took much lesser, the next 50 took much lesser, the next 50 took much lesser, and then the next 50 took much lesser. You know, so for him, the shift in the way he approaches one-day cricket has changed, and I think he's probably found a sweet spot with that. There are times I do feel that he doesn't need to be so aggressive, but I think he was leading from the front and he wanted to do that. But now perhaps he'd probably be a little bit more circumspect, because as captain, it would have been that much more difficult to drop a captain, versus now as a player, they've also said both these players will be picked on merit. So I think they will be a little bit more cautious before being uber aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, that will be interesting because you're right. He gave himself license. He wasn't going to get dropped, and he wanted to show the whole team how he wanted the cricket to be played.
Correct.
But also, the way he was batting was winning a lot of ODI games early on, right? Like it was very effective. And if he continues to average, as I said, over 35 to 40, striking at 120 or whatever, he's going to destroy teams, right? So it's fascinating to see whether he goes back to that sort of old Rohit sort of anchor, nudging it around and everything, because I don't think that's what they need. I think the way he was playing is the ideal way to go about it. And so I hope that he doesn't change that. Let's move on a little bit.
I think he'll find a happy medium in between, Chair. I think he'll find a happy medium in between and there have been times where I felt like, for example, the World Cup final, right, in 2023, you know, when he got out, because the previous ball I think was a free hit and he hit it for 4 or 6 or whatever, and then the next ball he still tried to take Maxwell down and then got caught by Travis Head. At that point I felt, oh man, I wish he didn't play that shot. You know what I mean? I wish he just he already got a 6 in that over. There was no need to get another one, because it's 50 overs and you want a caliber of Rohit Sharma to bat for India for as long as possible. Because when he bats 20 overs, he's a match winner, bro. As in he finishes a game, like he turns games on its head. So
I get you, but I think that if you look at that period, he was winning games in the first 20 overs, and that was the theory behind it.
And that's the thing. You want him to bat those 20 overs, right? I don't care if he doesn't bat past 20 overs, but you want him to bat 20 overs.
I don't know. I think because of the strength of the batting lineup, if he's 50 off 35, it's very hard for you to win that game. Right, so that's not even 20.
And he still would have been 50 of 25. Because how much did he get in that final? Can you put it up on the chat? Because I'd love to know how much he got in that final.
The World Cup final. World Cup final. I'm just live Googling, everyone. Where's the scorecard? He made 47 off 31.
Yeah, exactly. He would have still got 50 of 35 balls.
So, like, but I suppose my thing is, though, that like that's his job. He'd actually already done his job. Whereas I think what you think is you want him to go back to the other model.
No. I don't.
No. Sorry, you want him to have the ability to go back to the other model.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I want him to be able to use the ebb and flow, because the value of a Rohit Sharma in the course of an ODI game is so immense that you don't want to lose him, especially when the wicket's falling around him. I think it was the second or third wicket that fell. He wasn't the first wicket that fell.
No,
Because Shubman got out early.
Yeah, Shubman
and
went
then
out in
Virat
the
got
fifth
out.
over. Yeah, and they were 76. I just think if he's 76 for 2 after 10 overs, he's
Yeah.
already done his job for me. And I would rather him do that, because let's say he hits that next ball for 6 off Maxwell.
But that's the
right?
thing about big games, right? Like, think about it. The big games is where that added pressure is, and you want your best players to be able to just bat. Like, even if Rohit got
I think you and I
a
come at
70
this
ball
very
100.
differently.
Yeah,
I
see,
think
the thing is, you're
Yeah.
like, I'm looking at this more from the point of view of, one is not his role, but his effectiveness and his impact during the course of a game, especially a one-day game. The guy can turn a one-day game on its head, right? And I don't think he's a role player. I think he's a match winner. And for me,
Yeah, but
and I
I
think he
think
can
the
do it
difference is-
in that space of playing a role.
Yeah, so
You know what I
I
mean?
think though that what he did is he went, we have to break free of the anchor thinking. We have to break free.
I didn't
of
want him to play
this-
anchor role.
No. But what I'm
just want-
saying is, so do you remember Ben Stokes at the start of Bazball?
Hmm?
It was nuts what he was doing, right? It didn't make any sense the way that Ben Stokes was batting at all. But he was trying to show everyone that there was a freedom that he wanted everyone to play with. And as you said before, when you're the captain, you can use that freedom in a different way, right? I think that Rohit probably got a little bit too into the Kool-Aid of that situation. And he's like, I have to show everyone that I'm going to do that, especially in a World Cup final, because you don't want to be in a position. Yeah, but go back to the Adelaide game in the T20 World Cup semi-final, right? Where one of the reasons, and me and the Indian camp don't completely agree with this, but some people in the Indian camp agree with this, is that they got themselves into a headspace where they went, we were going to come here and play it aggressively, but the pitches are slightly different, so let's go back to our normal method. And it meant that when England could play in that style, India couldn't catch them anymore. And we all know that India have more actual batting talent than England, right? But they couldn't catch them because of that. And I think Rohit was trying to play in that model all the way through in that period, right? And we saw Virat do it in the last T20 World Cup as well, right? Up until the final.
But what
really.
he did in the final? Exactly. That's my whole point.
Yeah,
and thank you for making my point. Thank you for freaking making my point, man. That's exactly what I'm saying. In a big game, you need to know, and Rohit knows this. Like, it's not like he doesn't. So that's why I said I wish he didn't try to hit another 6 after just hitting another 6, just hitting a 6. So for me, that it wouldn't have changed it wouldn't have changed the strike rate. It wouldn't have changed his approach. It is just about being, I would say, just taking your foot off the pedal just a touch before you go again. Especially when it's a bowler like that, it's a part, like when it's like Maxwell bowling. Like, for me, it's that stuff. Like, in big games, you want your best players to spend as much time in the middle as possible within their role. Like, for me, if he played within his role and played for 20 overs, right? Just in that game, if he played for 10 more overs in that, he would have been a 70 ball 100 and he would have gotten out. That would have been the difference in the game.
I suppose what you're doing here, though, is let's have a look at those two innings. This is fascinating, right? The Rohit innings and the Virat innings. If Heinrich
Let's also take one more innings into this conversation. Let's take the 2022 World Cup final innings from Ben Stokes in Australia, where he scored a 50 ball 50 or something, like 45 ball 50 in the final to get England over the line to win the T20 World Cup.
Okay, so let's have a look at those 3 innings for a minute. The Virat Kohli's innings, if Heinrich Klaasen plays and misses at that ball from Hardik Pandya rather than edging it, would be seen as the innings that didn't get India over the line, right?
No, not necessarily.
Well, they wouldn't have won. They wouldn't have won that game. They wouldn't have won that game.
There would have been a big part of India that would have gone on to sing that song. But I'm telling you, as a cricketer, you want to have that kind of an innings. Like
I
I'll
know
tell you
what you're saying, but you see what I'm saying is how many, I can go through them. Weirdly enough, I was looking at some of these the other day. There are plenty of times when Kohli has got 50, 60, 70 in a T20 game and his side has lost, right? In the first innings. Second innings is very different. But first innings, he does that quite regularly, right? The difference here is that India have this incredible end to that game and they sweep home, right? I get your point that you need the double gears, but I also understand the idea of it's very hard to beat these sides. They were lucky in that situation that Heinrich Klaasen did get the edge at that point, and so that allowed them to come home. Whereas you and I know if we replay that game, even with the Bumrah side of it, if we replay that game a bunch of times, South Africa still win that game. And at that stage, you might be, and I'm not having a go at you, I'm just saying you as a general public here, might be going, well, if he'd gone a bit harder, right? They would have put more pressure on South Africa and they would have got that. The point is, I don't think you can do what you're doing, which is that when you look at one individual ball or one individual moment, right? And then go, well, that worked and this didn't work, because there are situations where Rohit could have hit that ball from Maxwell for 6. Australia can't use Maxwell again. Their plans are in trouble now, right? And it completely changes the shape of that game. And he goes on to make, let's say, 100 off 75. Right,
but
and
that's
win,
the thing,
the
right? That would have been a bait and switch from someone like Pat Cummins. Like, I'm going to bowl him now. Best case scenario, he gets him out. Worst case scenario, he gets hit for a few sixes. I'm taking a punt here, and that's what would have been his calculation. Because what other sense does it make to bowl Maxwell in the first 10 overs of an ODI when India are going on a canter? Right, they were before that they were 60 in 9 overs, so they were doing really well.
That.
So
70 in 9 overs,
yeah, so they're doing really well. It wasn't like they so obviously it was a punt taken by the opposition captain. So I'm not talking about that one situation. I'm talking about many other situations where I felt Rohit Sharma, instead of going hard, or any like match winner, instead of going hard, could have ebbed that flow for just that. You know, he would have already gotten runs in that over. Ebb that flow just a little bit. I've seen this a bunch of times, even in the IPL. I'm like, I love that he's going hard, but if he could just pull it back just a notch, half a notch for that matter, and then go back again.
Well, here's
it's like changing gears, right?
Yeah. What you're really talking about is like AB de Villiers or Viv Richards, right? Which is, and there's only ever been 2 of those in the history of
Brian Lara.
Cricket. Yeah, Lara probably comes from a slower base, though. Lara had the switches. He had the switches. He probably stayed at the lower gear too late. So I get what you're saying. I don't, even for a player as great as Rohit, there are flaws within his white ball batting that we have seen at the franchise level and everything else, right? And so I think that sometimes what we do with these players is we're like, the problem here is he's not perfect, right? And he can't make the right decision every time. He's made a decision. So just to go back to the Ben Stokes one that you mentioned is really interesting before. Ben Stokes in T20 cricket, part of the reason he's not as destructive as a player is because he struggles to free himself in T20 cricket the way he does in Test cricket, right? Where he just suddenly lets go and hits all these balls. That is partly because he's a limited player. So that innings that you're talking about at the MCG where he beats Pakistan and wins that final is actually exactly what you want Ben Stokes to do, which is he knows his job. If I get a single every ball from here on in, I'm going to get 1 full toss. I'm going to get 1 half volley down the leg side. I'm going to get 1 ball. And we've seen him do that at Headingley. We've seen him do that in the 2019 one. He's brilliant at that. But he can't do some of the other stuff that those other players do because he doesn't have the top level skill sets. And I think that with Rohit, he's either very, very good at playing the anchor role, and then, as you say, gets to the last 30 balls of the innings and he suddenly just goes ballistic. Or he's very good at sort of changing that and spinning it around and going very hard. I don't know if he has the ability to do what you're saying, which is the flick up, flick down, right? That would be perfect. And that's why there aren't many players like this. Like, we're looking for perfection in someone like Rohit. Whereas I think what I'm saying is I would rather take the odd fade, even if it's in a World Cup final, because I think the way that Rohit plays in 2023 World Cup helps him win 2024 World Cup, right? It's that allowing them to do that and to fail and to understand what he wants from the team actually eventually is going to win. I think if they kept playing that same 2022 and 2021 style, I don't think we'd be sitting here now saying that they've won 3 tournaments or 4 tournaments in the last, 3 tournaments, isn't it? In the last little while. They needed something to change, and I'm willing to lose. This is me, and you're a player, so you probably look at this differently. But as an analyst, I'm willing to lose a World Cup final in order to win another World Cup final. And I know that you don't think of things that way.
Definitely not. Like, see, like a World Cup final is a World Cup final, right?
Yeah.
You put everything behind that game. And that's why even a World Cup final, even 150 runs in a T20 game is a crucial one. Let's go back to Gautam Gambhir's 74 not out in a World Cup final of 54 deliveries in 2007. Even that innings, wickets were falling around him and he had no choice but to hold one end up and play the way he played. Granted, cricket was like not played as aggressively as it's played today, and so it was considered a great innings at that point in time. And I think it was a top innings for a final, because that's why the best captains in the world always prefer batting first in a final, because they understand how much pressure plays a part. You set a score for any good captain says, you set a score, the team chasing that score down, even if they get a good start, a couple of wickets fall, it's crazy the kind of the ripple effect it has on players who are coming down the wicket, the pressure that mounts on them, because there's something huge at stake. And I've seen this happen at the IPL level. Let's take the 2021 IPL for that matter. We scored 190 CSK against KKR. They were 100 for no loss, buddy. 100 for no loss in 10 overs, and they lost the game from there. And we were the only team that year, all of 2021, that batted first and won a game.
I get
every other team chased down a score. And why did that happen? I think it was largely because of the fact that we got 190, because the average score that time was about 150, 160. But the second part was the pressure chasing down a score. Plays a huge part in a finals. And so that's why I'm okay with high quality players, high quality match winners, taking that extra time and batting through an innings, especially if they're batting first.
I get that. What I'm saying
finals.
here is that you are not talking about a normal cricket side at this point, the Indian white ball team, whether it be ODIs or T20.
Okay.
You are talking about a team that can play a form of cricket that can dominate for 8 to 12 years. And you're also talking about a team that for 8 years or 9 years, whatever it was at that point, had underperformed, right? Time and time again. And one of the reasons they had underperformed is because they had geared down too quickly, automatically all the time. That's so many. If you go through, I've done the history of it. You can go through all those games, the amount of times that they just geared back. And it happened in that 2023 World Cup final, right? After Rohit goes out, the same thing happens. They do that. So I'm okay with a leader willing to sacrifice that for the greater good, right? Because I think now they will win more trophies in the future than just that one. They still probably would have thought, and as I said, it's not like he's trying to lose the game against Australia. He is thinking a couple of hits here, and what's their plan B now? And that was a team that had come in with, a very, very, like Australia came in with a very strict model in that game, which eventually won. But if Rohit breaks that model, Australia didn't have the most well-rounded side to be able to come up with something else. They didn't have old Mitchell Starc, where you're just like, okay, so if the team gets away, we just give Mitchell Starc the ball at the 38th over and he takes 2 wickets, right? Like, it was a different kind of side at that point. Anyway, I think that's a fascinating conversation.
It is, yeah.
How will Rohit handle not being captain now?
I think gracefully. I think he understands. I think a conversation perhaps, like I said, I think a conversation has been had with him. I don't think it would have happened without that. And I think he will, like I said, go back to focusing on making sure he performs his role to the best of his ability and maximize that role. Because right now he also has, the dearth of match practice for that matter, right? So I think it'll be interesting to see what kind of approach he takes to ODI cricket right now. What are the norms or the standards that someone like a Shubman Gill sets for the ODI side? What brand of cricket do they want to play? And I think that role, there'll be a slight adjustment there, especially with Rohit at the top, with Shubman number 3. So what happens there? I think it also gives Shubman the time to kind of get into that space and kind of find himself as far as captain is concerned of this format as well. So it'll be pretty interesting to see. I'm looking forward to that Australia series, man.
Shubman Gill is being fast-tracked to be the all-format captain.
I'm not so sure.
I'm
I
positive.
get, I get one day in ODI cricket. Sorry, ODI and Test cricket. I think he's a solid pick for Test cricket, and he's shown us that as well. As far as ODI cricket is concerned, I still think his numbers have been good, but I think they will get better for a player of his caliber. T20
Can you get
cricket,
better than his numbers? Isn't he averaging like 60 in one-day cricket?
yeah, but I think they
What's
will.
he going to average in your world? 75?
Oh no, sorry. Wait, what's his average in ODI cricket?
59.
Yeah, 59. So I think
He
I
can strike
suppose he will
quicker,
get
to be
like
fair.
yeah, he can strike better. You know what I mean? That's that was what I was talking about. Yeah, so I think they will look at Shreyas Iyer as a captain
In T20.
in T20 cricket.
But
think
Shubman Gill is vice captain at the moment. So he is captain of one team, captain of another, and vice captain of the other. That to me, I take these as signs of, and Shubman Gill doesn't have to even be in the T20 side, right? They had other options that they could have gone with.
And that's the thing. He still has to earn that spot, right?
But you say he has to earn that spot. He's been brought in as vice captain. They made the announcement. They were really, really clear. So it feels like to me they have decided that he is already available for that spot. So my question isn't so much. Let's just assume I'm right, and they do want to make him all format captain. So Shreyas Iyer, I think, is a really interesting one in T20 cricket. But right at the moment, if they do want to make him all format captain, are you okay with the idea of Shubman Gill being all format captain? And doesn't it feel a little bit forced when you don't need to do it?
Yeah, I think especially when you have the likes of a Yashasvi Jaiswal waiting in the wings, a Sanju Samson spot being shifted, Shreyas Iyer not being a part of this side, waiting in the wings as well. It does feel like, I wish his Asia Cup went better for him, for his sake, because now Abhishek has run with that, right? He's run with the one opener slot. Now the second opener slot's still very much open, as far as I'm concerned. I think Yashasvi can be someone who can come up there. Sanju can certainly come up there. And so I think he still needs to secure his spot first. So I don't think it'll be taken for granted in a sense where he will be captain or he will be next in line. And we know and we've seen Indian cricket changes overnight. Like things change very, very quickly. Narratives shift very,
definitely.
very quickly. So
I don't think, though, you would make him vice captain if the plan wasn't for him to be captain. Because otherwise, it's a
honestly,
weird decision to make.
Vice captaincy in India doesn't mean much.
No, I agree. Well, it means more. No one is more excited about vice captains in India. No one else even announces them anymore. But what I mean is, if it was, I don't know, I'm trying to think of another player in the squad. If it was Abhishek Sharma, right, or Bumrah or Kuldeep Yadav that was named vice captain, then I would say to you, you're right. It doesn't mean that much. They just want to make sure that they understand the leadership group and they want to maybe put a little bit more pressure on that other player to perform or whatever that may be. If you're making your Test and ODI captain vice captain, I think it does mean something, mate. Especially when you have come into the side and you weren't expected to be in the squad. Suddenly you're in the side as vice captain. I think it is a little bit different. I think there is a hangover from them still thinking that they can make an all-format captain. And I just think that's the wrong way to go about it.
No, I don't think so. I don't think that's the thinking. I think that vice captaincy in India, because we've seen a bunch of vice captains not ending up becoming captains, right?
Do you know what we should do with this podcast? We should just message the guys, message Ajit Agarkar and just be like, so we're having this disagreement. Can you tell us?
Can you clarify this for us?
I think it's fascinating. You might be right. That's not the way I'm reading it. I'm reading it as India won an all-format captain and Shubman Gill so close to being an all-format captain that we can make it happen. I just don't know. I understand there's a cleanness of having the same captain of all things because you know who the most important cricketer in the country is. Everything runs through them and it makes sense. But I just think now there's so much cricket being played. I don't know. And he's also captain of an IPL franchise, right? There's so much pressure on him to be able to plan ahead. And like I've seen international captains have to do this of like you tell them like what series are you playing, and it's like hard for them to get their head around a T20 series when they've got a test series and a World Cup coming up before that, right? Like it's just really, really hard. So I just find it interesting, but I could be wrong. It happened once before, Robbie.
Only once?
Yeah, only once. I told someone that you were an attractive man, and that was the time I was wrong. Did you watch much of the test match?
No. Very little.
Well,
Just
to
the
be
highlights.
fair, there was very little of the test match to be watched.
Yeah, very little.
So West Indies bat for 44 overs in the first innings, and they bat for 45 overs in the second innings. So I suppose combined, they made it to the second new ball. If you want to look at it from that point of view, India obviously do very well. KL Rahul makes 100, then Dhruv Jurel and Jadeja. We've seen that a lot, haven't we? The sort of the lower order players making runs more so than the top order player over the last couple of years. Be interesting to see if that holds up now that I think they'll change the wickets under new leadership and look at things differently. Here's my question for you though. You're a proper cricket fan and you've played with a lot of these guys and against a lot of these guys as well. West Indian batting has been in a free fall, I would say, since about 1998, right?
1998. My God, you're a hard man.
Yeah, because I'll tell you what happened. If you go back, they were never. So 1950s. Now we're going old school. West Indies in the 1950s, right, has incredible batting depth.
The chat just left the room.
No, the chat's going to love this. Conrad Hunt, Rowan Kanai are not even famous names, right? And they were great batters. You got the 3 Ws and you got Sobers. So 6 incredible players in one side. Then you get to the great side in the 70s and 80s. The batting depth isn't quite as strong. I think you usually have about 4 or 5 incredible players, but you also have some guys like Larry Gomes and Gus Lugi, very, very good players, but no one's thinking that they're greats, even from a West Indian point of view, let alone world. The next generation is when Viv retires, you have Lara, you have Hooper, you have Adams, and you have Chandrapal. And then just on that fringe, I would say you have Sarwan and you have Gale, right? Those guys, Sarwan and Gale, are kind of come through in the late 90s, right? From that point of view, since Sarwan or Gale, when was the last time they had an obviously above average test batter for a long period of time? The guys that we're talking about that actually made their runs, I think Gale debuted in the 90s and Chandrapal definitely debuted in the 90s. So those guys make runs for the next 15 or 16 years. But there is no stage where there is other players coming through under that system who are better than a Craig Brathwaite, right? Who's done very well with a very limited game. But he would be then maybe one of the next big players. You could throw Hetmeyer and Puran in, but Hetmeyer only briefly played Test cricket and Puran hasn't really, right? So
Yeah.
that means for a very, very long time, I'm not just talking about stars here because I don't know how you think about talent. I think about talent from the way of there's going to be a period of time where you end up with Dravid and Laxman and Sehwag and Tendulkar all at the same time. You can't always assume you're going to have 4 guys of that level. You're going to maybe assume you might have one or a bunch of guys beneath that. That S tier level of talent comes and goes, right? But West Indies, forget the Chandrapals, right, and the Laras. They're not recreating the Sarwans or the Jimmy Adams, right? Jimmy Adams would be, if Jimmy Adams would have played in the last 10 years, even for all the issues that Jimmy Adams had in his career, he would have been the best batter by a mile in this time, in this period in the last 10 years, right? But by a distance, Robbie, by such a long amount. And they're not even making people who are almost as good as Jimmy Adams anymore.
Could that be because of a cultural thing? Because they feel like cricket's, you found a better, like for them, cricket also, the narrative around cricket changed and everything became more white ball, and the earning potential also grew in the white ball format versus the red ball format. And so all the youngsters coming up through the ranks understood that, hey, this is how, because culturally it's a very different country, right? It's
Very different countries, yeah.
Very different countries. Each island is so different from each other. Yep. So could it be more a cultural thing than actually
I think that's a great question, right? But if that's the case, we shouldn't be seeing that from the late 90s onwards. Do you know what I mean? That should be something that we only see from about 2014, 2015 onwards. And the fact that we start to see it in 2005 and 2008, right? Those players should still be coming through the system at that point, trying to play.
Darren Bravo was a solid, I thought could have been a solid Test cricketer as well.
Very interesting player. So, I mean, some of it is professionalism, right? So why is Darren Bravo not become a consistent Test player? Is because professionalism, him fighting with the West Indies and everything
Marlon
else.
Samuels is one of those guys who also had the capacity, and he's a fairly good Test player as well. He had I think he's got decent numbers as well.
So Marlon Samuels plays 71 Test matches and he averages 32. Darren Bravo plays 56 Test matches and averages 36. So we're still looking at people that are sub Jimmy Adams, right? Like that are not of that level.
What's Jimmy Adams at?
Jimmy Adams, well, he had such a fall towards the end of his career, but I would say he would have averaged about 38, 39. Does that sound right? 41.
41.
Right? And he played in a tough era. He actually made a lot of runs in the tough era. When the pitches got flatter, he stopped making runs because he had all those other issues. So Darren Ganga plays 48 Test matches at 25. Wavell Hines. Did Wavell Hines get you out once? Have we had this conversation before?
Yes.
He did, didn't he? I'm the only person who cares about his bowling other than Robbie. Wavell Hines, 45 Test matches, averaging 33. Sean Campbell, 52 Test matches, averaging 52. Right?
He was really good in his time, man.
A lot of those guys can bat. We're not saying they can't bat, right? What we are saying is that it's all well and good to go, oh, they haven't found another Lara, or they haven't found another Chandrapal, or another Viv Richards, or another Sobers, right? That's fine. The fact that they aren't finding other Jimmy Adams and Carl Hoopers, I think is a much bigger question. Right? The actual quality of their batting hasn't just decreased in one era. It's decreased over 26, 27 years now.
But that's because cricket for them, I think, changed. When you think of, Test cricket fell off, but did white ball cricket and T20 cricket actually do well for them? They actually exceeded.
But that's the Marlon Samuels Bravo era, right? You could argue that those two guys during their career maybe were affected by T20.
Yeah,
right?
Correct. So that's the thing, right? I think that's perhaps also why their perhaps focus on cricket moved from, or the importance of cricket moved from red ball to white ball cricket and more to T20 cricket, which is why I think we saw West Indies have the kind of success that they had in T20 cricket.
100% agree, but it doesn't.
Also,
but these guys before, the Campbell, the Hines, the Ganga, the Powell, all those guys weren't making Test match runs already. And that isn't T20 cricket. That's the period before T20 cricket. Right? And other countries.
Then?
Well, I think administration has to play a part. I think local pitchers have to play a part, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think that for sure.
Do you know much about Nikita Miller?
Yeah,
did you ever
a little bit.
Did you face him or anything, or do you remember him?
Yeah, I remember him. I can't remember facing. I probably faced him.
If I was to say to you, what do you think his first-class bowling average was?
Oh, must be really good. Left-arm spinner, isn't he?
Yeah, left-arm finger spinner. 100 first-class matches. Played one test, never took a wicket, weirdly, in his one test, but played 100 first-class matches. If you were just to guess at his bowling average, what do you think it would be in first-class cricket?
22, 23?
That is a perfectly reasonable guess. His bowling average was 16.3.
Jeez. And how many wickets did he get?
He took 538 wickets. So we're not talking about someone who didn't bowl a lot. We're talking about someone who bowled a lot. You can argue why he didn't play a test match for the West Indies, but that's a different conversation. But my point being is, if you've got a player who doesn't even go on to have a test career, who takes 500 wickets at 16.5 or 16.3, right? Is there not an issue with the wickets? And so
wickets.
It can't be that just there's a talent gap here. I don't think West Indian players come into Test cricket consistently making runs in T20 cricket, in one-day cricket, or in first-class cricket. And I think if you look at the wickets, I think the wickets play a huge part. So I think you're right. I think the organizational structure of the West Indies is so broken and flawed and has so many issues that we could go on forever. But I also think just on a very basic level of like, if no one's making runs on any of these wickets, when they get to the next level and they're facing test match bowlers, why do we suddenly expect them to break through? And if they're averaging 25 in first class cricket, some of these guys are averaging like really low amounts. Even if you factor in the better pitches in test cricket, they're not going to average more than 32, are they?
Yeah. Yep. I think so. I think it's a combination of a lot of things, and also the, I think it's also about I think the financial side of it also has an implication, right? Because for them that's big, right? Culturally, it's also a very different country, like I said earlier. So I think a lot of these factors, and the combination of a lot of these factors, is why we haven't seen that caliber of cricketers coming through the ranks. And definitely, administration and wickets have to be a big part of it, because we probably have to go back and see how. Like, I know for a fact that in Antigua and all of that, they used to put like road rollers on the pitches, right? Like literally, and that's how those wickets were hard, man.
Shiny
and
sometimes
they were
too, right?
Quick, shiny and quick. They were skiddy and didn't really bounce. So you had to be really good to be able to play quick bowling, and even though it didn't do much.
I want to talk about the finances because you brought that up, and I think that's really fascinating as well. So the two periods that the West Indies dominate cricket are the obviously mid-70s or late 70s through to mid-90s, and the T20 reign, right? Both of those times when they dominate cricket, it's partly because their cricketers become professionals in other leagues. So if you go back to the 70s, it was all those West Indian cricketers were playing club cricket in England and then county cricket, right? And then a lot of them then went and played in the Packer cricket as well. And so they were suddenly professionals when English cricketers were only professionals for 6 months of the year. Australian, New Zealand, and Indian cricketers were not professionals at all at that point. So you had a version of professionalism that West Indies cricket had that no one else had at that point, which I think is definitely worth talking about. And then the next one is the T20 revolution, which is the same thing again. Go back. There are players we've forgotten about, like Dwayne Smith, right? Who was just going from league to league to league. And he, Lendl Simmons and, Marlon Samuels, all those guys, they had so much experience when the rest of you didn't, because you would play in one league, maybe a secondary league if you were lucky. And in those days, there weren't even that many leagues to play in, right? But the West Indians were hopping from league to league to league. And I remember talking to Kieran Pollard about this once and saying, what do you think the big advantage was? He was like, all we were thinking about was T20 cricket. And so we were so far ahead of everyone else. And then people start to catch up. So I do think there's an element of that we need to factor in. But I don't think that
100%.
fully,
Without a doubt,
I don't think that fully explains the fact that Sawan is the last surviving sort of regular batter of that level. I mean, maybe you could say Gale because he played a little bit longer, but obviously his career was had some issues as well. But I think it's fascinating because I think what happens is people are like, oh, it's this one thing. So this myth about basketball kills cricket in the Caribbean. I'm doing a big video on that. You'll really like it. But it's like everyone wants the one simple answer. And I think we've just discussed here, there's like 4 or 5 really clear things. Yeah. And how good... You've probably played with and against some of these guys. I think Hetmeyer could have averaged 40 in Test cricket.
He could have, yeah.
Yeah. What do you think of Puran? I'm not sure about Puran as much.
Puran, he probably would have been, even him.
Low,
even someone like
high
him.
30s?
Yeah, high 30s, close to 40s for sure.
Because that's their 2 best batters then, not in Test cricket.
Yeah.
I was there when I think I was actually
who I think would have done really well in Test cricket? Unpopular opinion, perhaps, is Sunil Narine as a batter.
As a batter? You say unpopular opinion, like anyone has ever said that opinion before in the history of mankind. That's not an unpopular opinion. You've invented a new thought process.
It will be an unpopular one, is what I'm saying.
It's going to be a very... it's going to be. So I saw
because his game is so... His game is so... Like gear 1 and gear 5, right?
Yeah. He's probably... what's he like? He's probably like a... Remember Graham Swan?
Yeah.
A bit like a Graham Swan, where like if Swan got on a roll, he would just score like 20 or 30 really quickly, and because he was basically slogging for some of it, you didn't know where to put the field, right? Like maybe Vernon Philander, that kind of player as well.
Like I'd say
again, I get taken to the cleaners for this. Like Rishabh Pant. Rishabh Pant's very gear 1, gear 5, right, in Test cricket. And which is why I think he's not been able to figure out his T20 game, because he's so successful with that gear 1, gear 5 kind of template that works so well for him that people don't know what kind of field to put for him in Test cricket, which is why I think he becomes so he's gotten so successful in Test cricket and he's done so well, because he does the most unpredictable stuff, right? You anticipate him to go after you, but the guy just blocks you around and then suddenly takes you for a 4, then blocks you around, takes you for another 6, or he comes and you come in and you think the next innings you think, okay, he's going to take his time, first ball, step out, straight down the ground, 6. I think Sunil Narayan would have been that kind of a player. He's also in T20 cricket very block or go, right? He's not in like there's no running in between, none of that.
No. I think that's fascinating. Also, I think that what you've just talked about then is, I know we kind of talk about it, but I think that's something we should talk about more, because I think Rishabh Pant and Ben Stokes, part of the reasons they're both limited in some ways is because they don't have that ability to gear up, gear down naturally. So I like the idea of a gear 1, gear 5 player. Just on this as well, I saw a young Andre Russell play. He would have been a fantastic Test player as well.
If not for his knees, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm talking when he was young and lithe, before he became the T20 beast. Because he was bowling at 92, 93 miles an hour. And he played a bunch of A cricket in England. I saw him play and I was like, this guy's going to be the next sensation in Test cricket. Unfortunately, it went a different direction. How much of the Women's World Cup have you been watching, Robbie?
I watched the India-Pakistan game yesterday.
Isn't it good to watch Pakistan play and you know beforehand you're just going to see dot balls, boundaries, or wickets?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the gender. Like at this stage, I'm pretty sure if you or I went and watched disability cricket and it was Pakistan team, it would be the same template. It would be dot balls, it would be all boundaries, or it would be wickets. They have no other method of batting, no matter what Pakistan cricket is. It's really interesting on that. I've been looking at this as well, that this tournament so far has been quite fascinating from a perspective of, I think you're seeing a lot of T20 batting in one-day cricket. So to get back to your Rohit argument from before, it's something, but obviously women's cricket is structured differently because the circle's a little bit smaller and you've got the extra fielder up all the time. And I think it's quite risky to hit the ball in the air because you're always a chance of a miss hit and being caught in the circle in women's cricket. But because they're so T20 coded, the players, they're almost playing that style naturally anyway. So I think it's a very, very fascinating thing to watch it happen sort of in real time, and you understand that that's the direction that they're going with. But yeah, that's the thing that I've noticed is that the attacking. The other thing I've noticed, Robbie, is that I'm going to ask you. This is a personal preference, and I don't want you to throw any of your friends under the bus here. Do you enjoy left arm finger spin to watch it?
To watch it? Yeah,
as it's not individual bowlers, but as a general principle. Like if you were ranking the bowlers you want to watch the most in cricket to the least most, right? So let's say leg spin or left arm wrist spin or left arm fast bowlers at the top, right? I'm not saying 100%. That. Where would left arm finger spin be?
Lower down.
Above off spin or below off spin?
Below off spin.
So you basically put it last.
Off spin still got a risk factor to it. I prefer left arm spin.
Off spin goes up out of the hand a bit.
Left arm spin to left-handers would be as good as off spin. I probably put off spin and left arm spin on the same line because it depends on who you're bowling to. If you're bowling to actually maybe you're right. You're right.
So it's the least enjoyable form of bowling to watch. I'm sorry to all the left arm finger spinners out there, but it is. That's not to say that Venkatapati Raju or Harath, right? Yeah. No, this is how my brain works. My point being that women's cricket has an awful lot of left arm finger spin, Robbie. And there's two reasons for that. One is they have more finger spin than men's cricket, right? Let's just put that there. Part of that reason is they can bowl at the death, finger spin so you can stretch out, you can have more finger spinners in the game. But the other reason is they have more right-handers in women's cricket than they do in men's cricket. And I think the selectors have worked that out. And I swear every time I turn on this Women's World Cup, I'm watching a left arm finger spinner. And some of them are great. Don't get me wrong. Some of them are enjoyable. As I said,
I like that Pakistan left arm spinner who's bowling like left arm, but just bring the ball back in all the time.
Like she's bowling like Akil Hassan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just coming. Every ball's like Like in the air, it's slow, but pitches and comes back in like an off spinner, man.
Yeah, it's good. I like that as well.
Yeah.
And she's also very good at just changing her pace a little bit. And she does have a
Yeah.
slightly quicker ball. I think it's fascinating. But my point being is, if you kind of have to like, when it comes to women's cricket in general, you kind of have to like the brand of the cricket because it is so different to men. And I think it's a fascinating one to understand how it's developing differently to men's, even now. So the women's cricket is moving. So I think in the last World Cup, there was almost no left-arm seamers bowling in that last World Cup. And now it's almost at the same rate as men's, right? And so you're seeing left-handers come into the sport through the bowling, but you're not seeing them come in through the batting. It's just it's a fast, as we watch women become professional in the last, 6 to 8 years, you're suddenly getting these different kinds of athletes come into the game and everything. So it's a very fascinating one. But if you don't like finger spin, women's cricket is a very different watch than men's cricket, just because of that one big change.
Yeah, it's a very different watch. I actually mentored a women's team in the Vidarbha Premier League, Vidarbha T20 League, and it was fascinating. It was my first time mentoring a women's team, and they play with a lot of emotion, a lot of passion, and just the way they play cricket is very, very different. The way they approach it is very, very different. And the rules of the game are quite different. It's a 25-yard inner circle.
4.3 meters closer in. And I don't think people always... Yard. Yeah, and you would know this as a cricketer who's especially a power play guy. If you have someone 4 meters in from the rope, it's from the circle, I should say. It's very different than being on the back end of that circle, isn't it?
Yeah. And also, I think the maximum is like a 55-yard boundary line, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, I don't know what the exact mass of that the boundary lines are, but you're right. Yeah, and the extra fielder in.
The extra fielder in. So that is quite fascinating, actually. And then so your strategies change quite a bit. Even given that they've also tried to make it, I think the powers that be have try to make it a little bit more interesting for the viewer, and I think that's why that extra fielder in. But yeah, it has gotten better, and I think it will get better. I've seen some good left-arm fast bowlers in, left-arm medium pacers in Vidarbha, and some really good, like very clean action and all of that. It's like very nice to see, and their parents are all very supportive, which is just so heartening to watch, especially in India. It's not easy to get a woman to pursue sport as a career, but they're still encouraging them, which is amazing.
I think it's one thing that we forget is that, it's only really recently that men have been encouraged in certain parts of the cricket world to be professional athletes, right? Like this is a new thing.
I remember, growing up, and when I turned 16, 17, when I turned 16, I remember I was passing out of school. The number of high quality cricketers, a few of them a year or two senior than me, and guys my age who just gave up the sport altogether, who could have, like, some really genuinely good opening batters I've seen given up the game, some genuinely good all-rounders I've seen given up the game, who can bat and bowl like alike, just like equally talented both batting and bowling, just giving up the game because it was not a career option when we were growing up. It was just
that's so different. Like you and I know I'm a bit older than you, but we're a similar generation. Whereas the kids I grew up with, I would say there was about 10 to 15 kids who were pushed by their parents to become professional athletes, right? Like, and some of them made it. And, one of my friends is like a basketball writer now. And a couple of those guys I grew up with went on to play professional football as well, right? We didn't have any cricketers. We had the Australian team physio was one of our local kids. But he didn't quite make it as a cricketer himself, but a very good player. But people were pushed. Like, I know of kids who were told by their parents, like, if you're going to do this, I'm going to push you the same way I would if we were pushing you for your studies, right? Like, if that's what you're going to do, because that's the job that you are looking towards. And so, as you said, in your generation, that is still just coming through. Maybe the 5-10 years after you, the IPL changes things a little bit. T20 franchise cricket changes
and nobody
things.
saw IPL coming. So nobody saw T20 cricket coming through the way it did, right? The only way you could have made money in India by pursuing a career in sport, or at least a career in cricket, was to play international cricket.
And then you've got to be in the top 15 players in the country, right?
That's the only way.
I remember when franchise cricket came around, you even saw a change within Australian professionalism in that a lot of the kids who were good at multiple sports before would never pick cricket. Because again, you could make a lot of money playing cricket, but you had to be in the best 10 or 15 players. So maybe if you were like Ricky Ponting and everyone was saying you were definitely going to do it, whereas a lot of kids like Mitchell Johnson would generally have picked their secondary sport, right? Or not their secondary, but another sport. Mitch Marsh was someone who was offered a professional contract in 2 different sports at the same time, right? So, they had that ability to be able to do that. And then they started to pick cricket. And so you think about women's cricket, we're talking about the last 6 years.
Yeah.
Right? Like
so I think the game's evolving quite
so fast.
Very, very fast, at a very quick nip. And I think we'll continue to see it evolve. And I think I love the fact that they've made it so conducive for women to have this as a career option in their lives.
Yeah, that's fascinating. We'll talk more about the Women's World Cup. I think at the moment New Zealand are playing South Africa. They're 120 for 3. I don't mind New Zealand. I think they bottled the game against Australia. I think they had them on the ropes. And yet the thing with Australia, it's a bit like that old England side, the 2015, 2019 England side. You have to break them. You can't let them stay in the game because one of them's eventually just going to smash you everywhere. Let's do some super chats, Robbie, and then finish up. Let us super chat. Abhilash says, what caused Rohit Sharma's fitness issues? Health issues, just age, or slowed down reflexes? I ask because I think
just lack of time too. I think a genuine lack of time to be able to focus on fitness, and being a captain of an Indian team is a highly stressful job. So I think just a lack of time to be able to invest into fitness, because for you to be able to do that, and we've seen like right now he's been off for the last 3 months, and you've seen in the last month and a half he's lost about 10 kilos already. So he's had that time, the window of time, to get a break from the game and invest time into actually fitness, because it's not easy to maintain fitness, especially when you're going from tournament to tournament, and it's under immense amount of stress, right? And no wonder captains, like you look at all the Indian captains, from Rohit Sharma to Virat Kohli to MS Dhoni, all of them kind of aged prematurely, simply because of how stressful the job is.
Always just on this topic, one of my favorite things in sports is fit pics of players. When they get a chance to actually go and do the fitness and then suddenly see it. I absolutely love it. All right. I love Mutton Bariani says, bit unfair on Rohit, but okay looking at World Cup 27. If not World Cup, Rohit should play one last ODI in India and give a good farewell. And Virat
I love Mutton Biryani too, by the way.
Wow. That's a very good take to have compared to your son on our own would have averaged 50 in Test cricket.
I never said 50. I just said I think he would have done really well in Test cricket as a batter. You ass.
What do you think if they do realize that these guys are going out? Are they going to give them one big home game at the end?
One can only hope so. Seldom does it happen in Indian cricket where the greats get a good send off. And I don't think the players have also perhaps reached a point where they don't expect it right now. And also because I think there are multiple reasons for it, but I think
not all players like it either, by the way. Some players just like to retire and disappear and, go and do what they want. I mean, do you know what I mean? I've heard of players being offered that before and just be like, if you don't think I'm good enough to be in the side, I don't want to be, I don't want a pity match.
Yeah, but fair enough. And I think that's fine. But I don't think, it would be the case with Rohit in that sense. I actually think Rohit will go on to play the 2027 World Cup. I actually genuinely believe that. I think he and Shubman will open the batting there. And I think the guys like Yashasvi and all that will have to kind of bide his time and keep guys like, have you watched Vaibhav Suryavanshi batting in Australia? Dude, like he'll be giving everyone a run for their money.
No. I mean, that's the big thing is, I don't think it's the talent with Rohit. It's just whether they just think there are better options at one point, which they might.
I'm beating around the bushes.
Stop beating around the bushes, Rob. You know how BCCI works. It's over for Rohit, Kohli. Gautam Gambhir wants KL and Jaiswal opening and Gill to play at number 3 and Pant at number 5. No, I think that honestly, if that was the case, I think they would have just moved them on now. This is the time to move them on.
Now's
right?
the best time to do it, Shiv.
They just won an Asia Cup without them. This is if you were
Yeah.
going to get rid of them, Siva, you would have done it now.
Yeah, 100%, buddy. And so I don't think it's that.
What's good, Robin?
Barry.
Barry from London. Hope you remember, mate. Best wishes to you and the family. I enjoy these podcasts. Have you now got friends
thanks, Barry.
messaging you on the show?
How cool. They are paying you money, so shut up. And read these things out.
I did read it out. Path says, is Robbie naturally right-handed? If not, would he consider telling his younger self to bat with the wrong hand?
100%. I was actually ambidextrous. I could bat both left-handed. I can play golf left-handed, by the way.
Really?
I have a video. Yeah, I can actually play golf left-handed. I've tried playing paddle left-handed as well. I reckon I can develop it. And if someone had told me when I was young, I would have 100% given that a shot. 100%.
So I tried to teach myself how to bat left-handed when I was about 10 or 11. And technically, I was much better left-handed than I was right-handed. But because I'm a slogger, I couldn't hit boundaries. And I was like, well, what's the point of this? Like, I just want to hit boundaries, right? Like, it
You know, I
didn't make
actually
any
tried
sense to me.
I actually try to make my son left-handed. Like I forced him to bat left-handed. Try. If you ever pick up the sport, but then no, he was properly right-handed.
So, you know, all three of my children bat left-handed in cricket.
Oh, that's amazing.
And I did that I forced them. That is
You
completely
forced them?
Yeah, but I stuffed up with the second child because it turned out he was left-handed, and now I wish he batted right-handed. But it's too late now, and he's so bottom hand dependent.
So
no, I did.
This is what Jarrod does.
Yeah.
Right? To all the people he loves, this is what
Yeah.
he does. He
I
makes them do
experiment
the
on them.
opposite stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
experiment on them.
No, because I think we stand on the wrong side of the bat. I think what we think is right-handed. So what is right-handed in baseball, I don't think is right-handed in cricket. So what is right-handed in golf, I don't think is right-handed.
Yeah, I
in
agree
cricket.
with you. Yeah, my stronger hand's my left hand. So my top hand's much stronger than my bottom hand.
Which is I think that's what you should have in cricket. So that's why I did it. It wasn't an experiment as much as I just believed that was the case. But you know, also I've looked at the stats of women's cricket, and there aren't a lot of left-handers. So I know Clem's only 5, but you know, if they need a left-hander in 10 to 12 years' time, I've got to set up if she's needed. I've got one from Walking Alive here. Thank you very much, but I can't see the question, so it might be further down. Abav says, why is Robbie digging up... Oh, no, he's Walking Alive.
Go back.
Wait, we'll do Walking Alive. Agree with Jarrod here. Rohit doesn't have the flick up and down thing in his game, same way his test form went down the drain due to his attacking approach. That's quite interesting, actually. I hadn't thought about test cricket as well. Thank you very much for Walking Alive. And Abhinav says, why is Robbie digging up old trauma?
Oh,
I'd
sorry,
erased
Abhi.
the 2023 World Cup from my mind.
Sorry, Abhi. I apologize.
Yeah, he's always doing that. Aditi? God, I've got to make these things bigger so I can read some of them. How are you guys?
How are you guys?
Genuine
So I'll read
question. Do you read
I'll read it.
amateurist cricket blogs by fans, not experts? I read kind of everything, Aditya. I think everyone would know
Yeah.
that. I quite often, I don't even realize, sometimes I'll have someone on a podcast because they've written a really good piece that I found. And I'll find out later, it's the only piece they've ever written and they've never done a podcast before. And this poor person's crapping themselves as I'm like, so tell me in the third paragraph, you did this, right? It's for me, it doesn't matter who the person is. It's what I'm looking for. And I started as an amateur blogger. So
I actually read a bunch
rude
of stuff
for me.
on Reddit, actually. I actually quite enjoy it because,
Team Reddit, look at this.
yeah, I read a bunch of stuff on Reddit. And
You mean the
and
cricket
now-
Reddit?
Yeah.
I think I think Reddit cricket is a
quite
very
interesting.
good area. I think the fans are really smart. I think
Yeah.
I like the way that they follow the game. I struggle on their match logs because they message so much, and I like come in halfway
Yeah.
through and I'm like, I don't know what you're saying, but I like
Yeah.
some of the research and some of the conversations they have on Reddit.
Yeah, the
So,
research is
that-
actually quite nice. Their point of views are quite unique, actually.
And I would say the other place at the moment that is really fascinating, if you like cricket writing, is Substack. So many people are coming onto Substack with, varying different ideas, writing some really good stuff. There's some really good New Zealand content suddenly on Substack where you can't read about New Zealand on CricBuzz or CricInfo anymore. So I think Substack is another place worth having a look at as well at the moment. Who are we doing? Oh, how are you guys?
We're
good.
very, very
We're
well.
genuinely good.
Yeah.
Oh, there he is again. Abhishek says, not sure if I missed you saying it, but Agarka said number 4 spinners for ODI, no 4 spinners for ODI, then picks 4 for T20. Make it make sense. Well, they're 2 different formats, aren't they? Abhishek?
Yeah.
I think we probably had a chat about this during the Champions Trophy. They probably over-index slightly on spinners. hoping that
It's
Hardik
also
would
because of
do
the quality
job.
of the spinners, right? And it's also
That's what-
you're looking
exactly.
at it, you're also looking at it as just spinners, but Abhishek, they were actually all rounders there, right? Like
Yeah.
Aksar is an out and out all rounder there. So if you look at spinners, who are we looking at? We're looking at Washi was there, but Washi's all rounder,
Yeah.
considered all rounder. There's Aksar all rounder. We had
And then the two
Kohli.
specialists. Yeah.
Yeah, and two specialists. So it's they're all rounders, Abhishek. I think that's and the utility comes in, and I think they're proper all rounders. So
And the tournament was in Asia. So I think if you're
Yeah.
playing in Asia, that makes 100% of sense. But you would have to change things in different places. I've already done
Yeah.
that one. Abhilash says, a death of West Indies batting also coincides with the decline in county cricket. Another question is, yeah, they don't play as much county cricket, the West Indian players. And I would take it a step further. There was a period of time, as I said, up until basically 2010. Whereas if you were a West Indian player and you weren't a star player in the national team, you probably played club cricket every week in England as a finishing school, right? And high level club cricket, right? We're talking about Garfield Sobers and Basil D'Oliveira and, proper club cricket, right?
Yeah.
And that I think also, has an issue. Another
Changed,
question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another
But
question.
Abhilash, what a great observation, man. Good stuff, dude. Well done.
Yeah, no, really good. Another question, is Tilak ready for all formats?
Yeah. I think
He
so.
is? Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
And
like
is this the
Tilak,
first
man.
episode where JK didn't have tech issues? Well, we haven't finished the episode yet. Let's not. I did have tech issues before starting up. I couldn't get the camera to work. Thanks for that, Rakshia. Abhinav says, young Andre Russell wanted to be a test cricketer. He did. As I've said
Yeah.
before, I saw
Till
him
his
play.
knees got busted.
Yeah, and his knee got busted years later. But at that stage, he was probably a number 7, and he obviously can whack it and would cause some carnage. Maybe he doesn't average 30, but maybe he averages 28 with like a strike rate of 120. But was a genuine frontline test bowler at that stage.
For sure.
I would have said he was a much better bowler when he was young and a much better batter when he was older.
Yeah. He was a better bowler than a batter back then.
Someone says the G in entrance exam culture kills sport here. Explain this to me. I don't know about this. I like this.
So GE is an intensive kind of career option, leads to a career option here. It's an examination, and so it does, like the number of IITNs and IIM graduates who are deeply passionate cricket fans, right? We know one of them.
I was going to say, like our friend first umpire, Deepak.
Yeah, like Deepak,
Yeah.
whose primary passion in life is cricket, but had to pursue education for whatever reasons, right? And it does, and it had, because again back then it wasn't a proper career option. Back in early 2000s, mid 2000s, it wasn't a career option. It was very hard.
No,
It's only I think only past 2012, maybe 14, 15, it started becoming a proper career option. You had parents forcing kids to start playing cricket, and the parents started living vicariously through the kids.
I think I'm trying to remember what year I was in India, and oh my God, Arun Lal. I was at Arun Lal's academy, and he was saying that beforehand it was like, we want our kids to be good at cricket, and maybe they'll play for India. And then suddenly he was like, everyone wants to play in the IPL, and everyone thinks that they're going to have.
Nobody really wants to play for India today.
Yeah, and it was
a bonus.
But also, he was just like, the numbers have just gone through the roof, because before people were pulling their kids out of cricket so they could do more education, and now they're pushing them into cricket because there might be more money in that. And look, when it comes down to it, everything we talk about the West Indies, we talk about this, we talk about women's cricket. When it comes down to it, money is the thing that shapes all these
Big
things.
driver. Yep. And I'll tell you what, today, when you look at I've seen, I deal with a lot of parents nowadays who are forcing their kids to play cricket, and a lot of them want to play only in the IPL. They don't really care about playing for India. But the ones who start with that intention end up not even playing in the IPL. But the ones who start with the intention of say, hey, I want to play for India at the highest level, the way they play, the way they prepare, and the way they navigate through the courses of getting there, and the mindset completely shifts. So they end up at least playing the IPL.
No, I think that's makes a lot of sense. Siva says, why did you stop making videos with Ashwin? Have you stopped making videos with Ashwin?
No, I haven't. As in, Ashwin had invited me to do a bunch of videos with him, and I did back then. And Ashwin hasn't invited me back. I would love to do videos with Ashwin as well.
I'm also
certainly
available
there's
to
something
do
in the
videos
pipeline.
with Ashwin.
Yes, we're always available. Anything to do about talking about cricket, we're always available.
Yeah. KS says, I loved your evolution of batting episode. It was very intriguing. Big fan of your work, Jarrod. Hope to see more similar episodes. Yeah, we did that a while ago, and I had this list of all the different evolution videos I wanted to do, and I haven't really got back to them. We've got such a backlog of content that I haven't
Listen,
even been
if
able to make.
Jarrod makes any more content, if Jarrod makes any more content, yeah, there will be repercussions for him.
I think, if anything, I'm not making enough. And Parth says, I noticed Abhishek Sharma holds the bat handle a little bit higher. I did it too. Does it really work for technical reasons, or is it just a placebo? So Adam Gilchrist did it as well, didn't he?
Yeah, they are the ones who hold it at the top of the handle. Basically, get longer levers, so when they hit a ball, it stays hit. So
Where did you hold? Middle?
Red ball cricket right at the bottom, so that I had a lot more control, and
Yeah.
white ball cricket more towards the top. I'm sorry, more towards the middle than the top. So so
I
at the
always
start of
tried
the
to-
innings in white ball cricket, like in the middle, but as
Yeah.
the innings progressed, it went more to the top.
So I always tried to move my hands further down, especially after I saw Gilchrist play, and I could never do it. I should say
Yeah.
move them up. My hands just naturally go further down the longer, the bat. And I've never been able to sort of train myself how to do it. I've noticed my son holds it. He's got that, that Faf du Plessis one where you have your hands separated.
Oh yeah, that's choppy.
don't like
Up
that.
and down. Yeah, it's KL Rahul's gone to that for some reason. In between, he went to that, and I think he's still with that. Gives you a lot of leverage square of the wicket, so you can pick up balls and gives you a lot of leverage in room square of the wicket, but limits you down the ground, because if you're trying to hit down the ground, then the hands separate. So the bottom hand pushes in front of the top hand and kind of goes up. So you get really good square of the wicket.
That's the technical stuff, but as you would know, I just don't like things that don't look pretty on a cricket field. And so for me, it's like when he used to run in a bowl like Sam Curran, and I literally put things in front of the crease so he had to jump them. I was like, no. Bowlers have a jump. None of this running through the crease nonsense. I'm not coming to all your kids' games and watching you bowl like Sam Curran. That's not for me. That's it for me and Robbie. We'll be back again next week with more KimAppa. Thank you. Find us on Instagram, on Facebook, on X, on OnlyFans. I think Robbie's on OnlyFans.
No.
And we'll be no. Oh, it's a private account. Sorry, just for me. We'll see you again next time here on KimAppa.